Hi, my name is Kelly and welcome back to Therapy Designs, the channel that's all about teaching you how to create print-on-demand designs using Canva. So, just wanted to show you, this is one of the first t-shirts that I ever made. It was put up on Merch by Amazon about 1.5 years ago, and so I'm a physical therapist, and it just says, it's all fun and games until someone ends up in physical therapy. So it is okay, by the way, if you're just starting off, for you to design t-shirts that you like and to buy your own. If you're stuck in tier 10, that is a good way to get out of it. Just FYI if you're stuck on Merch by Amazon. Anyways, so in today's video, we're going to be showing you how to create a design using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in learning, go ahead and stick around. So in today's video, we're going to be going over how to create this design right here. It says "Drinkin' like Lincoln." And as we are starting to approach summer, it's a good time to start thinking about your 4th of July designs. You want to go ahead and get those up, usually about a month in advance. So as we are almost at June, we really want to get things up for the beginning of July. So 4th of July is a big one in the United States that people will buy shirts for, funny shirts. If you look at Pretty Merch Pro right now and you go ahead and look at the top selling shirts, you're starting to see a little bit of the 4th of July peek out. Right now, I did see some Ben Drinkin' shirts. So it's another one that has Benjamin Franklin. These sell pretty consistently year after year, and so you can always go ahead and take those ideas and make them your own. I did go ahead and do a trademark search just to make sure, and Drinkin' Like Lincoln and Ben Drinkin' are both still free to use, so you can go ahead and make those designs however you want. So this is how this is the design we're going to be making today. And it uses a picture of Abraham Lincoln and some beer glasses. We go ahead and put the sunglasses on his face that look like the United States flag. So you get that red, white, and blue. And it's just a really funny one that people can wear for things like Memorial Day, 4th of July, Flag Day, President's Day. And so you'll see these shirts also sell year round just because they're funny. So if you'd like to learn how to make this design, go ahead and stick around. So as always, we're going to start with our blank backdrop. It is 4,500 by 5,400 pixels, as always, because that is the standard t-shirt size for Merch by Amazon. And I'm going to be starting with a black background. So I'm just going to go ahead and come over here and select black. Okay. So for this design, we are going to be doing kind of a 4th of July president's drinking beer combo design. So it's always good to do some cross niching. And as I mentioned earlier in the intro, this is a very popular niche every year. So as 4th of July is coming, it's always good to start thinking about these things ahead of time. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and start with a picture of Abraham Lincoln. So that's where I'm going to go. So I'm going to come up to Elements to the left-hand corner. And I am going to type in Abraham Lincoln. And you can see a lot of different pictures pop up. Now there's many different ways you can go with this. I'm just going to pick an easy standard t-shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this one right here. Okay, so basic picture of Lincoln, really easy to start with. I'm going to be doing a little bit of editing to this. So one of the things I'd like to do is make it a little bit more of a brown sepia tone. And so an easy way to do that would be to come up to Edit Image and to use the photogenic effects. And here I can go ahead and put all different sorts of filters on it, obviously to make it warmer, cooler, more or less vintage. It's already in black and white, but I can do some color pop. For this one, real easy. I just want to add a little bit more of a warm brown tone. So I'm going to go ahead and use this latte one right here. So I'm going to click that and hit apply. And I always give it a second to make sure it finalizes okay. But you can already see that it's given it more of a brown tone, okay? Now here we can also play with contrast and for example here, if I want to play with the contrast, make it a little bit more contrast, a little bit less, make it a little bit lighter, for example, or a little bit darker. So these are where you can play with some of those controls. You can also play with the saturation as well. So if I wanted to give it a really warm, really deep color, I could do it that way. If I wanted to bring it back down more towards black and white, I can of course do it this way and just completely go black and white. I'm going to keep it a little bit more in the sepia tone area. And so from here, I'm also going to use some paint effects. So you don't have to, you can keep it as is. I just like to give it a little bit more texture. And so one of the paint effects that I like to use for this, I'll show you. If I scroll down to some of my effects, I find paint effects here. See all, there's a lot of different ones. And of course you can play with them to see what works best for you and what works best in each individual project that you're doing or each photo that you're working with. For this one, I'm going to be using this one. It is Retracto. And so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click the lines here. That's going to allow me to adjust intensity. I'm going to keep it low. So I just want to give it a little bit of an effect. And it will take a second or two to finalize. And there you go. So now you can kind of see it's given it more of a little bit of a crinkled, textured look. Just something to make it a little bit different from the original photo. So I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. There you go. And I will give it a second to finalize here. So now what I'm going to be doing is removing the background. So I really just want the picture of Lincoln here. So I'm going to start by going to edit image and doing a background removal. All right, perfect. Now just to make sure everything looks good, I'm going to go up here to my tools here where it says erase and restore. If I can click on either one of those, it'll pull the design up here. And this is a good way to make sure that I didn't miss anything or that nothing accidentally got erased, that it's hard to tell against a black background. So here I can see there's a little hair sticking out. Maybe I don't quite want that there. So I can come in here and just sort of erase that hair. Just a little bit like that. The beard's coming out a little bit. I think I'm getting a little background here. I can leave it, it doesn't matter, or I can erase part of it. And so, you know, you can always make sure that it's exactly how you want it. This is pretty much good enough, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it alone. And so here I have my Lincoln. Now for this project, I'm going to be doing a few things. I am going to put him into a frame and have him popping out of the frame, which is a pretty common feature that you'll see a lot. I did go over how to do it in one video, but we'll be doing it again here. So if you missed that video, this is another reminder. And I am going to put him in front of a backdrop. So the backdrop that I want to put him in front of at this point, oops, it's finalizing, there it is going to be a beer backdrop. So I'm going to come up to elements and I'm going to do a search for beer. And I want a photo I'm searching for, and I want something like this, just a nice solid beer backdrop. And I actually like this one. It's got a little bit of a fizz to it. So what I can do is I can make this backdrop real big. I'm going to go ahead and send to back so that he's in front of it. That way I can see where everything's lining up. Gonna make the backdrop real big. I want to bring it up pretty high. So I'm thinking something like that looks pretty good. So I am going to put this whole thing in a circle, and I want to make sure that I'm getting a lot of the beer and the bubbles and everything in the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this whole thing as one image. It's going to make it a little bit easier to do what I want to do. There's a few different ways that you can go about doing it, but for me, I just find it's easier to just save this as one image and go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and just download this as is. So I'm going to hit download. It is a PNG. You can do transparent background. It doesn't matter because I've pretty much taken up the entire backdrop. So you can do transparent or not for this one. It's not going to be a big issue either way. Okay, so I have it downloaded now. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to close this down. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to pull my design right up here. Oops. Oh no, is it too big? Oh, okay. So I hit a snatch. The image was too big, and that does happen sometimes. So I can just go ahead and hit this back button, and it'll just pull up my image right back to where it was. And I'm going to go ahead then and do this again. again, and this time I'm gonna have to download it as a smaller image. So I'll show you when we come up here and I go to download, I can compress file. So it's gonna lower the quality a little bit, but it's going to make it so that I can upload it again. You will find that if the designs are too big, you won't be able to upload them to certain platforms as well. So I always like to make sure that I can upload to everything. So give it another second. If you have any questions, by the way, feel free to drop them in the comment section below and I will get back to them as quickly as I'm able to. Okay, there we go, take 2. So this time it should work. So I am going to go ahead and again move this out of the way, and I'm going to pull up this new one here that will hopefully fit. Close this. There we go. And so there it is. So now it is one image, which means I can drop this entire thing now with the backdrop into a frame. As soon as it's done finalizing here, I'll be able to do that. Now you could, of course, put just the beer in a circle frame and then lock that to the page, and then put just Lincoln in a circle page, and then take that image and put it over the beer circle. You'd have to line up the circles, and you can do it that way too. So you don't necessarily have to save this as one grouped image. You can do it in different layers. I just find that this is a little bit easier for me. But again, there's always lots of options on how to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish for any individual design. And so it is good to be flexible and familiar with all of your options so that you can, find roundabout ways to get things done. So now that it is finalized, I am going to go ahead and put it in a frame, and I'm going to be using a circle. So I'm going to come up here to Elements, and I'm just going to search for frames. And you want the one that has the little heart. That means that it is going to be frames that you can drop your image into. If you don't select that one, you're just going to end up with photos of like picture frames. So when we hit frames, we'll get a bunch of these different images. Here's a regular circle. We do have one that has a circle with a border on it too. And I kind of want that one because I do want a little bit of a border around here. So I'll scroll down and I'll show you. That's this one here, has a little border around it where I can change the color of the border, and so you can see up here I can change the color. If you select one without a border and then you decide you want a border, no big deal. You can always pull up a blank circle by hitting C on your keyboard and then just moving that to the back and creating a border that way. So as I said, there's a lot of different options and ways that you can go about doing things. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make it a little bigger, but I'm not going to make it too big, because it's always easier to work a little smaller and then size up when you're ready, as opposed to making it too big and running out of space to work with. So I'm going to keep it about this size, and what I'm going to do is send to back. And now that it is in the back, my picture is going to go right into it like that. So now to resize the picture within the circle, because I do want his head to pop out a little bit, I can just go ahead and double click, and now I can resize this photo. So I'm going to pull it up. I want his head to pop out just a little bit, so not even a lot, something like that maybe. I do need to move this picture down though, because I want the shoulders to kind of come right, maybe something more. Something more like that. That way I'm cropping off this bottom part, which is a sharp edge, so I don't want any of these sharp edges, so I'm going to crop those out, so it's just going to give it a nice round feel. I still have his head slightly popping out of the frame, but I still also have enough of my backdrop in here to see that I got my beer backdrop. So this is probably what I'm going to be going with. So I'll just click out, and so that looks pretty good right there. Now at this point, if I want to change this background color, I can also do that later. So if you come up here, you can see I could pull in some of these colors from the backdrop, and I can make it brown, I can make it gold, I can make it however I want, and I can always play with that later. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and fill in this top of the Lincoln. So to do that, I'm gonna need to pull up the image that I had again, which is no problem because I have another copy right down here that I can bring in. And so it's uploading here. Another way to do that is before I put it in the frame, I could have simply hit Control D and duplicated the photo there, and that would have also worked. So there's always, like I said, lots of different solutions. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and download the entire image again, no problem. And while it's downloading, I'm actually going to take the time to take this image and lock it to the page. If I do not lock it to the page, I could just end up putting my new picture right inside this frame. So to do this, I click on it, I come up to the right hand corner, there's something that looks like a padlock and it says lock. If I click that, this is now locked to the page. It cannot move anywhere, which also means I can't accidentally drop a new picture inside the frame. So whenever you're working with multiple layers of photos and frames, locking it to the page is a good way to avoid accidentally dropping a new photo into your frame. So it should have pulled it up. I'm not quite sure why it didn't. Oh, there it is again. Okay, I'm just gonna, whoops. Way too many. Uh-oh, I gotta detach, delete. There it is. Okay, so now you can see what I did here. Okay. So I'm going to be putting this image actually right on top of the one underneath. And so you'll see how we're going to do this. I'm going to start by removing the background. So I just want Lincoln in this because I just want his head to pop out and I don't want all of this background. So I can go ahead, edit image, and just do a background removal here. I also could have saved a copy of him before I put the backdrop on it by doing a Control D or adding another page down here and just putting it there. So again, pre-planning can sometimes help you out a lot. Otherwise, you know, I'll just go through the steps again, not a big deal. Worst comes to worst, you can always use this back button here or hit Control Z and just keep going back until you're at the step that you want. But I'm going to go ahead, this looks pretty perfect right here, so I'm going to hit apply. And so you can see it has now pulled up another Lincoln on top of the original Lincoln. There you go. Okay, so it's finalized. I can line these guys up. And then if you see, if I crop this photo up like this, you can see how it's now looking like it's popping out. Now, you'll want to make sure that the edges and everything are lined up good. So it may be that the size isn't correct, that, you know, you might have to do a little adjusting. To do that, I'll usually zoom in so that I can see what I'm doing. And so as I zoom in, you can now see that this top image is not entirely lined up. If I was to use my keys on the keyboard to, for example, move it over, which it's not wanting to do, you can see I can line up this side, and so that side's pretty lined up, but now this side isn't lined up. So that's telling me that it's not the right size image. So I'm gonna have to shrink it down a little bit, play with the size. I can also come right up here where it says transparency, and if I hit that and I bring the transparency down, you can see I can now see through this image, and so it'll kind of help to line some of the edges up a little bit more. So from here, what I can do is play with my size. So it's looking like I'm gonna want to shrink it down a little bit. So that's pretty close. And so it may take you a little bit of time to play with it, to get it lined up as closely as you can, just so that you don't end up with a strong border anywhere. So I've got the head pretty lined up pretty good here. It's pretty close. It's really just right here that I'm looking to be lined up, and that actually now looks like it's pretty good. So to check, I'm going to get rid of the transparency. And nope, it still looks like it's a little bit off. And so sometimes it's a matter of moving it up, moving it down, moving it in. I think I'm going to have to move it in just a smidge and try that. Looks pretty good now. So that's a lot closer. So you will see it's a little bit off right here, so it's not exact, but it is pretty darn close. And when you zoom out, yeah, you won't even be able to see the line. So this is really two images. There's one right on top of the other, and you can see right where it splits. But from a distance, you really can't see that split at all, and it just looks like the head's popping out of the frame. So there you go. That's how you would go about doing that. So now that I have this image, I can still go ahead and group this together or lock it to the page. What I kind of want to do at this point is group it so that it's all together. Oops, I might need to unlock this one to do it. So if I hit unlock, now I can take the whole thing and I can hit group. So now I have my Lincoln as one big grouped image, and so I can move him around now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some beer glasses in the background. So again, going with that beer theme, I'm going to come up to elements. I am going to go back to a beer search. This time I'm looking for glasses, so something like a glass that I can put in the back. There's a few that I know I like, something like that, but I want to get some that kind of look like pillars. So you'll see you can use graphics if you want to, you can use images if you want to, or photos, whatever you think might look good. And of course you can use big steins. There's a lot of different ways we can go with this. I'm going to go ahead and use this one right here. And you'll see I'm going to make it kind of look like pillars a little bit. So I don't want it to go too far above his head. So maybe something like that looks pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is send to back. Oop. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. So I can click on this, hit Control D, it's going to duplicate. I'm going to go ahead and bring it right over to the other side of my image. And perfect. Make sure it looks like it's pretty lined up, and I'm going to send to back. So now it looks like he's got a couple pillars behind him. So I kind of like the way that that looks. Again, I can group all of this together now so that I can move him and the pillars as one. Did I get? Nope, I didn't quite get that one. Try again. There we go. Now I've got everything grouped as one. And so I can go ahead and center the entire image this way and resize it however I want. So let's say I start here. Now I'm going to add some text. So for this design, I'm going to have it say "Drinking Like Lincoln." So I'm going to add some text at the top and some text at the bottom. So I'm just going to start with this top text. I'm going to move it right up here. And the top, whoops, is going to say "drinking." So it's going to have a little drinking. Oop. Okay. So now I'm going to pick a text. There's a lot of different ways you can go with text. You can go bold, you can go vintage, you can go fun. I want to do a little bit of a kind of a classic old England style text. So I know which one I want. I'm going to just come up here and I'm going to search for it real quick. It's towards the top of the text that I have uploaded. And again, you can always go to sites like Creative Fabrica, and they have a lot of free texts. And so you can download some of the free fonts that they have there, and you can upload them onto Canva, and then they're free to use. Otherwise, Canva has a lot of its own fonts that you can choose from as well. So, I mean, there are literally hundreds of thousands of fonts out there available to you. And so one of the kind of old school ones that I want to go with is this one right here. And so it gives it sort of this old school kind of look. And so that is the one I want. Make it nice and big. I'm going to center it. Oops. Ah, there we go. So it says "drinking," and then I'm going to add another text box right here. If I hit text, it should pull it up in the same text that I just used. So now I'm going to put "like Lincoln." Drinking like Lincoln. And now this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move right down here. Now I can bring it all the way down so that it's underneath the image, or I can kind of have it come up and overlap the image a little bit. So I kind of like that. It gives it a cool look. And if I do that, then I can make this drinking a little bit bigger because I can take this whole thing and move it down. So I might do it that way. So keep it overlapped like this a little bit. Now in terms of colors, there's a lot of different ways I can go with colors. I don't really want it to be white because there's nothing super white in the picture. So if I wanted to do maybe an off-white like this foam here, I could. If I want to pull in some of the golds that you see with the beer, I can do it that way. I do kind of like some of the golds. So I'll come up to text color and I can do something like that where I've got my gold. And I can just go ahead and switch both, and so you can see how that would look. And so that's kind of a cool look. If I want this to look like it's popping a little bit, because it might look like it gets faded in his shirt a little bit, I can go ahead and add a shadow, and that's real easy too. I can hit effects. Oops, effects. Oh. Here we go, text effects, there it is. And I can get a shadow. I can go ahead and do a black or a dark brown shadow. I don't want any transparency. And then I can play with the offset here. And so most of this you wouldn't be able to see because it's on a black backdrop right now, but it will just give it a little bit of an outline around the areas where it overlaps the picture. It will also make it so that you can see it real clearly on a different color shirt. So let's say I wanted to take this entire design, which looks good on black, and I want to put it on a white shirt. I can change my backdrop color here, and now you can see what it would look like on white. And so now with the white, I like it, but I see I've got this offset a little too far. It's a little hard with this text because it's got some really thin lines, but I don't want the offset to be so far that I'm getting a gap. So I might bring it down a little bit on my offset. There we go. So now it's just real thin lines, but I'm not getting any gapping. So I do like that. So I might do it something like that. And I might just go ahead and take this and group this whole thing right here. I'm going to move it down the page a little bit. That way I've got more room up here to make this drinking a little bit bigger. And I'm going to center my drinking. Center, come on. Pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and put the black around that one too, just so that they're even. So if I put it on a different color shirt, I'll be able to see the text looks the same. So I can put effects. I can do black again. Get rid of the transparency, bring the offset way down so that I just have a nice little black line. And I can do it like that. So now here is how this design would look on a white shirt. If I wanted to do it on like a heather gray or sports gray shirt, you can see that the text and everything is still popping. The only thing that I kind of lose is the glasses in the back. They look good primarily on a black shirt. If I wanted to do like a brown shirt, sometimes you'll get those brown shirts. You can do it that way. If I wanted it on a blue shirt for like 4th of July, something like that. So you can see I've made it maybe not red. Blue looks good though. So you can do this design on a lot of different colors. So it's pretty versatile. So here's where I'm at now. Now I want to go ahead and put some sunglasses on him. So I want to get those kind of red, white, and blue American flag sunglasses that are pretty popular. So I'm going to come up here to elements and I can search for any sunglasses if I just want any sunglasses. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find American flag sunglasses. Okay. And so you can see I can find some different American flag style sunglasses. Not quite. There's American flag sunglasses. So there's different ones that I can go with, and I can play with them to see which ones I like. These ones are pretty simple. Definitely got the aviator style glasses are pretty popular. And so I can do something like, if I can get it lined up the way I want it. That looks pretty good right there. I do kind of like that. And you can keep searching, see if you can find anything you like better. You can always create your own too. So if you ever wanted to make custom frames, you can make custom frames of sunglasses and then create your own. And so that's another easy way to get what you want. Let's see, I'm not getting as many sunglass options as I want. Oops, I can always just do sunglasses and see if I can find American flag ones there. And so you can always play with your options, but I do like the way that this looks. I can always put my own colors in this one, so some of them you can change colors. Here is another kind of little less aviator style. So if I got rid of the aviators, and maybe I went with these instead. So something like that. I like those. I actually kind of like those better. I think that they sent it back. Oops. If you accidentally move something out of the way, by the way, before you panic and try to figure out how to get it back, just hit your back button right here. So I can always do that, and it's easy. And if you're ever worried about accidentally messing something up, again, you can always lock your image to the page, and that's going to make sure you don't accidentally move anything around. But I do kind of like those. Here's some see all different ones. I'm not a big fan of those. Those are just flags. I could put a top hat on them if I wanted to. And so you can see lots of different options. I think I'm just going to go with this. It looks pretty good for right now, pretty simple. And so we'll go like that. So again, some of these designs can take a little bit of time to make. Once you sort of have it the way you want it and you figure out how to do it, you can, utilize these designs over. I could put different presidents in here. Ben Drinkin is another really popular one, so I could easily substitute Abraham Lincoln with Benjamin Franklin and just change the text to Ben Drinkin and keep the same type of design. And so there's a lot of easy ways to go about, playing with these, making them your own. So this is what I'm going to go ahead and save. So I'm going to title it here, and I'm just going to title it, there we go, Drinking Like Lincoln. Drinking Like Lincoln. There we go. And so I'm going to download this. This one I need it to be a PNG. I do need it to be a transparent background, and I can download just like that. And so that is how you can go about making this type of design, and I hope you found this useful. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found that useful. If you'd like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.